So, I was listening to Pat Benatar the other night, just running with the shadows and hitting people with my best shots, if you know what I mean. And then all of a sudden I had one of my autistic memory spirals. I started to think about what I would have been doing while listening to the song back in the day. And after a long period of mental meditation, I somehow got to thinking about my PS3 and how I have the entire original Ratchet and Clank trilogy on there, but I just haven't played them since 2019. And I haven't played the first one properly yet. Now, there's a whole saga of random shit I started thinking about after this, but I just kept coming back to wanting to set the thing up again and give them a jam for old time's sake. And my god, was that a good idea. There's a reason these games, the originals especially, have such a place in my heart, and well, I'll be honest, I don't really have a good reason to justify talking about them, but I want to, therefore I will. Welcome to a Willkak's guide to Ratchet and Clank. So, Ratchet and Clank is a game about a bipedal orange furry who's not a furry at the moment, but just wait till the community gets a hold of them. We're gonna do some dastardly shit with my friend here, who meets a silver bin with a flip-top lid as they mosey around a Solana galaxy to stop the evil Supreme Executive Chairman Drek, which I love the name, but it's a real mouthful, from stealing the galaxy's natural resources and massive chunks of planets on top of that in order to manufacture a new planet for his people, the Blarg. Because, to put it very delicately, they kinda fucked the last one up, like, severely, and now they have nowhere to live. Alrighty, so we have a nice and simple story with a clear-cut objective, so where are we off to first? The answer, of course, is simple, smack dab in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Now, I'm not an idiot. I know everyone who's actually played this game is doubtlessly screaming at me, "What are you doing? You need to go to Metropolis to get the swing shot, otherwise you'll be unable to progress." Well, fuck you, I'm going exploring, but that's actually for a very good reason. You see, this is one of the things I love about this game. You can tell that Insomniac actually learned from the Spyro series that people don't really mind going back to an earlier level later in the game, as long as there's new stuff to do, items to grab, and areas to explore that makes up for the time spent going back there, instead of just ignoring it. And Ratchet and Clank is very good at this sort of thing because you don't have to go back. Most of the time it's just a small thing that doesn't really matter, like the suck cannon or a tiny robo-droid that opens a door in a very obscure part of the level. Okay fine, it's not that obscure, but this was the only gold bolt I spent so long trying to get, I eventually caved in and looked up how to get it. Although I'm saying it in a very roundabout kind of way because that's just what feels good to me at the moment, the thing I like about this game, and any game that shares a similar sort of layout or idea, is just the idea, or even if I'm to be a little bit mysterious, the perception of choice. You can choose which planets to go to as long as they're unlocked, and in any order you want. You won't necessarily be able to progress by going down all these different branching pathways at once, but fuck it, I'm here for adventure and expect not to be disappointed in that regard. Speaking of choice, Ratchet and Clank has a fair few weapons, but not too many, and that's a key detail that I think a lot of people will occasionally think about, but never really dwindle on it long enough to realise simply how important it actually is. I've lost you there, haven't I? Don't worry, I'll put it simply. So this game has around 16 weapons in it, right? And that's enough, because every one of them has a specific job to do, and most do their job extraordinarily well. But you only have 8 slots to fill in your quick select, and let's be fair here, I didn't use most of these things. I know I just said that the guns are effective for what they do, but that's not to say that I actually wanted to do what the gun was designed to do. Here's an excellent example for you, the Taunter. Really, as if I need to tell the enemies to shoot at me, it's kind of their only job. The Mind Glove? Oh yeah, no, I'll just take a moment to set up a trap here like I'm playing Demo Man in TF2, only to then have to pull the blaster out to actually kill something because they're not coming anywhere near me. As far as weapons are concerned, I only used 5 of them and filled the other 3 slots with the most commonly needed gadgets so that I don't have to keep going into the pause menu to equip them, because if you've ever tried the alternative, it's pretty damn boring. But I hear you screaming, what are the weapons you actually use then? Yeah, no, the gadgets are really cool. I can go over those briefly if you want. Because here's the thing, the weapons are obviously way more important than the gadgets. The gadgets just kind of fill a little niche for platforming and puzzles, but they're not extraordinarily useful for anything else. I say extraordinarily, they have that one defined use and that's all you use them for the entire time. Like the Hydro Displacer, you just suck up water from these designated points and then you just shoot them in another designated point to raise lower platforms or allow you to walk in areas where you need to break something. Now, while not particularly engaging, it does serve a very good purpose. It allows you to break up the fight so each one feels defined and unique, and it's not just, okay, here's another combat encounter, here's another combat encounter, here's another combat encounter, and although arguably that would make the game a hell of a lot more fun, not for me, but for someone else maybe, I just like how the combat is broken up, so it's not just always fight all the time. You have moments of reprieve before you go and do something very dangerous. Like jump into a pit with a bunch of, well, lurker sharks. Now, what were you saying about weapons? Oh yeah, no, if I was to answer your question about which ones I actually used, I'd say the Devastator because it was, I mean, it's just got a cool name and it does good damage and locks onto targets, which is very nice. The Blaster because if nothing else, it's reliable and consistent. The Rhino because, why, maybe, are you daft? Why would I not be using the Rhino? The Visor-Bomb gun because it's remote controlled and it's just incredibly entertaining. Literal hours of fun have been had by me with this thing. And finally, the Tesla Claw because Not only does it lock on enemies, but it's the most set and forget weapon in the entire game. You can just run forward and occasionally jump, and presto, you're at the next level. On the point of levels actually, goddamn, we got ourselves some genuine early 2000s graphics here. Talking genuinely though, photorealism is drop dead gorgeous most of the time nowadays, but let's spare a thought for the golden age of graphics, where cartoony and fun will bludgeon these poorly aged attempts at replicating humanity any day of the week. The levels themselves are also a great time to explore. They feel big but not large enough that you're running around in circles looking for an objective. And that's on top of still having collectibles and skill points on each of them, but you'd be forgiven for not noticing that on your first playthrough. And my first playthrough, I got 6 skill points and 10 gold bolts, giving me an excuse to go back and look at the geometry of these levels closer to find what I was missing. But I never got too turned around thanks to the Map-O-Matic gadget, which shows me unexplored areas on the map as bright green. And I'll be honest, like everyone else in the world, sometimes I can be a bit thick, but even I wouldn't be able to miss the giant green area that I hadn't gone yet. But the nicest detail about the Map-O-Matic for me is that it doesn't exactly show you where you need to go. It's not 100% accurate, as to remove all the exploring you'll need to do to actually get anything out of going to these areas. And to accompany you to these lovely landscapes and brilliant locations is some captivating music because, of course, has Insomniac ever once skimped on the music? I can actually think of one. If you can think of one, tell me. I ain't taking the piss, please, let me know. Regardless, to prove both those prior points, let me set the scene for you. This is Joy Resort on the planet Pokitaru. It's a tropical paradise with pristine beaches and lush botanics lining the shore with water so clear God himself could use it as his mirror. But at present it is not living up to that hype at all because it is being heavily polluted by the blag. Can we just think about that for a second? Instead of polluting, I don't know, space and leaving space junk out there, whatever, they decide to pollute the oceans on a planet that's probably a bit out of the way. That's some bastard behaviour right there. And the result of all this corruption is that the wildlife has started to devour everyone at the resort. I mean, they could get away with it if they're cute, but they're really fucking not. The level itself is beautiful, but what really sells it is the music. You have this really what I can only describe as a sunken gunky whomping, giving us a feel of grime and decay that is present here, with this cheery tropical beat pumping itself to the surface, distracting us from the true nature of what's happening in this place. And it's beautiful, I absolutely love it, and conveys the themes of this level so perfectly. All in all, this is a fantastic experience, and one I'm frankly jealous of everyone who got to play it when it was first released, but that doesn't mean that I'm on board with everything in this game. And although it may seem like a small detail, if like me, this is your first time playing, this could infect your enjoyment. Not much, mind you, but enough to make you notice it. But then again, something only becomes a problem once you notice it, so there's something for you to think about. The thing that really bugs me about this game is the movement. More specifically, it's movement when you're in a gunfight. Normal movement, like say when you're just hopping around in an area looking for secrets, it's no problem, it's sweet and simple, using a hover thruster pack to jump higher and further, all good, no problems there. But when I start shooting, it's a bit annoying for me. You see, in later games you get the ability to strafe, which is essentially just having the camera locked behind Ratchet, so you'll keep him facing in a certain direction while you shoot, even while hopping around, and it gives him the ability to do a sideward flip, which is damn cool, and he's still able to shoot while he's doing that. This is why the later games have some of my favourite gunplay and movement in all my years of breathing. But in this game it's not as quite straightforward, and I mean that quite literally, as if you need to turn around to hit an enemy beside you while there's still enemies in front of you, you still have to turn Ratchet the whole way around, which doesn't exactly feel brilliant for me, as it's the key reason I died most of the time. Although sometimes I did just do it for fun, but that's really besides the point. Apart from this really tiny minor issue, this game has a really solid foundation from which Insomniac would build one of, and this is undisputable, one of the biggest names in gaming, beloved by many, including myself. But you could probably have guessed that by the fact my only issue was not being able to turn properly, and now thinking about it, that's not really a game issue, that's more of a brain issue for me. I should probably go to the doctor. And with that, our adventure into the Solana Galaxy is at an end for now. I'd like to thank you for watching. Please make sure you like the video if you found any sense of pleasure at all from watching it, and subscribe to make sure you're here for the next video. And above all else, I hope to see you again very soon. See ya.